that hasn't been opened in years. Not because the key is missing, but because the blood never dried. Room 421 doesn't just remember pain, it preserves it. Screams echo in the walls, shadows twitch under the beds, and something watches you the second you close the door. They thought they could return, that no one would notice what they did a decade ago. But the room knew. The girl they left bleeding knew. And this time, she didn't want justice. She wanted revenge. The sky roared as thunder cracked open the clouds like bone. Rain whipped across the windshield of a black SUV, the wipers fighting a losing battle. Inside sat 4 people. David, the smooth-talking leader, now in his early 30s. Behind his charm was a history of cruelty. John Stocky, loud and sadistic, always laughing at others' pain. Mark, the quiet observer, forever holding a camera, recording everything, even when he shouldn't. Sophia, 22, polite, sweet, and dangerously unaware. She thought this trip was a celebration, but the men had other plans. They told her it was a weekend getaway. She believed them. David was driving when the storm worsened. "Pull over," Sophia said softly. "I think we should wait it out." David chuckled. "Relax, babe. We'll find a place to crash." Just ahead, lightning revealed an old sign. Hillshade Motel, 0.5 mile. John leaned forward. "That place looks sketchy." David smirked. "Perfect." The motel looked like it hadn't been touched since the early 90s. Faded walls, rusting balcony rails. A single red light buzzed weakly near the reception. The door creaked as they entered. An old man sat at the counter, reading a torn newspaper. His eyes lifted pale, sunken, heavy with knowledge. David stepped forward. "We need a room. One night." The old man didn't answer, just stared. Finally, he rasped, "Only one left. Room 421. John snorted. "Nice. Sounds haunted." "It is," the man replied. "People don't come back from that room." Mark chuckled. "You serious?" The man didn't blink. "It's not a joke." David leaned in, voice sharp. "We're not superstitious." The man slowly pushed the key across the desk. "Don't say I didn't warn you." As they walked toward the staircase, Sophia noticed something above the door of room 421, carved into the wood. "What you bury in silence will scream forever." But no one else seemed to notice. The key clicked. The door creaked open. Room 421 breathed like something had been waiting. The room was cold, not from air conditioning, but from something ancient. Dust clung to the ceiling fan. The walls were stained with age and mildew. A mirror stood cracked near the window, but underneath the carpet, blood still whispered. They didn't feel it at first. David dropped his bag on the bed. "All right, party time." John pulled out a bottle of whiskey. Mark set up his camera, already filming. Sophia smiled awkwardly, unsure where to sit. Something in the air made her chest tighten. David poured drinks. Sophia declined. "I'm okay." David stepped closer, pressing the glass into her hand. "Come on, just one." She sipped, out of fear more than thirst. John sat beside her. Too close. Mark's camera blinked, red recording. Sophia shifted. "Guys, I'm not really comfortable with..." David interrupted, grinning. "You trust us, right? We brought you here. Just relax. Then he touched her thigh. She froze. Don't, she whispered. John laughed. Come on, baby. We're just having fun. His hand slid across her chest. She stood quickly. Stop. David grabbed her arm. No one's leaving. Not yet. Mark didn't move. He just kept filming. Sophia backed into the corner. You're scaring me. Then David's smile vanished. He stepped forward. Sit. Down. The lights flickered. A cold wind slammed the window shut. The door locked itself with a metallic snap. Suddenly, a girl's whisper filled the room. Don't let them do it again. David turned. What the F? The mirror cracked violently. Blood seeped from its edges. Sophia screamed. The air turned thick. Every surface groaned. Shadows bled down the walls. The room was awake. John was the first to move. As Sophia backed away, trembling, John lunged forward, his hands ready to grab her shoulders. You're not going anywhere. He didn't finish. The air snapped. From behind the curtain, something slithered forward, not with a sound, but with a feeling. Cold, feminine, angry. Suddenly, a thick strand of black hair coiled out from the mirror, impossibly long, wrapping around John's throat like a noose. He gasped. What the? The strand tightened, pulling with brute strength. His face went red as he clawed at his neck, fingers slipping on the wet, oily hair. David stepped back in horror. What the fuck is that? Sophia screamed, frozen in the corner. John's body rose off the ground, convulsing midair, legs kicking. The hair twisted again and his legs snapped backward, both knees bending in the wrong direction with a sickening crunch. Blood sprayed from the fractures. John's eyes bulged. The mirror pulsed, and a face appeared. Her face. The girl they had left to die 10 years ago. Her throat was still open, a jagged wound gaping like a second mouth. But her eyes, her hollow, black, hate-filled eyes locked on John. She whispered, "Now you'll know what it's like to choke." The hair yanked his head toward the wall, then slammed it into the cracked mirror. Once, twice, 7 times. By the 6th hit, his skull was caved in. His tongue lolled out of his mouth, eyes half popped from the sockets. The 7th blow was just noise soft, wet, and final. His body slumped to the floor. Blood soaked the carpet. The mirror stopped cracking. David stared in horror, speechless. Sophia collapsed to the floor, sobbing. Mark's hands trembled on the camera. Then the lights flickered again. The ghost wasn't done. Mark ran to the door. It wouldn't budge.
His breathing turned frantic.
Let me out. Letmeo. UT. The TV turned on behind him even though it hadn't worked in years. Static at first. Then video footage. Black and white. It was them 10 years ago. The grainy camera showed the 3 boys, younger, crueler, laughing, holding the original girl down on the very same bed where Sophia now sat trembling. Mark froze. No. No, no, no. The ghost's voice came from the TV. You watched then. Watch now. The camera in his hand. His camera suddenly powered on by itself. Its lens twisted, and the red light blinked. He tried to throw it, but it stuck to his hand like it was glued to his skin. "Helpme," he screamed. David didn't move. He was pressed against the far wall, wide-eyed. Mark's camera focused on his face. His reflection showed her behind him, floating, eyes black, mouth open in a silent scream. He turned, too late. She plunged her fingers into his eyes. Mark shrieked. The sound was not human. Blood streamed down his cheeks like tears. She didn't stop there. The ghost pulled out his eyeballs, slowly, wetly, strings of red tissue dangling like broken cords. You saw her pain. Now, see nothing. The camera in his hand heated up glowing red, melting. She jammed it into his throat. It burned through his neck, smoke rising from his skin as the lens cracked. His body dropped, twitching, the smell of burnt flesh filling the room. 2 down. Only David remained, and he knew it. David backed into a corner. This isn't real. This isn't real. But the room had changed. The lights turned red. The bedsheets were soaked in blood. The mirror reflected not the room, but a different time 10 years ago. The past. David saw himself, John, and Mark. They were holding her down, laughing, not listening. The girl from the past, sobbing, screaming, begging for mercy. Her words echoed through the room. Please, please stop. Sophia covered her ears. David collapsed to the floor, hands over his eyes, shaking. I was drunk. It wasn't just me I didn't meet. The ghost stepped out of the mirror again, but this time she wasn't whispering. She screamed. Glass shattered. The walls bled. And David could no longer pretend it didn't happen. He saw her crawl into the bathroom, pick up the broken mirror shard. He remembered watching as she cut her own throat because of them. And now she was here, standing over him. David tried to crawl away. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please. But her hand gripped his head. She dragged him to the bed, tied him down with strands of her own hair, thick, wet, rotting. Then she grabbed the broken camera from the floor, still red hot. She whispered into his ear, "Smile," and drove the burning lens into his left cheek, carving it open. David screamed until his voice broke. Then she reached into his mouth and ripped out his tongue. Blood fountained. He convulsed. But she wasn't done. She turned to the mirror, etched something on it with his blood. Now you know what silence feels like. And with one last motion, she bent his body in half, folding him backward until his spine cracked and snapped like dry twigs. David's body fell limp. It was over. Sophia sat in the corner, knees to chest, eyes shut. Everything was silent. Then soft footsteps. The ghost approached her, but not to harm. She knelt before Sophia, eyes now peaceful, the wound on her neck fading. Sophia looked up. "Thank you," she whispered. The ghost raised a finger and unlocked the door. Sophia stepped into the hallway. The door behind her closed gently. A soft wind blew through room 421, and the ghost of the girl, finally avenged, rose into the air like smoke, vanishing into the light. The motel was silent again. If you ever see room 421 on your hotel keycard, don't open the door. Don't listen to the voices. Don't pretend the bloodstains are just old wine. And if you did something evil in your past, pray it doesn't remember you.